All right. Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. We are kicking off the second week of our habits challenge. So last week we talked all about water and water habits and how to get 100 ounces in and all the benefits there. And this week we are actually building upon that. So rather than switching out one habit for the other, we're going to keep the water. And this week we're talking about movement in general. And more specifically steps. But I do want to kind of speak first that when we talk about steps, at least for me and my clients, steps is kind of synonymous with just body movement in general, right? So any sort of NEAT, which stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is a fancy way of saying the energy that your body burns outside of dedicated workouts, all right? So this can be walking, of course, I think is probably the most accessible and the most common one. But other things I've had my clients do in the past or things that they were already doing are things like gardening, right? Like yard work, right? That can be a lot of movement. I would say playing with your kids. Definitely, right? Especially if you have kind of younger, very, very active kids. So we're talking about steps today, but in general, I want everyone to know that it's movement in general, right? Outside of your dedicated workout, basically making sure that we're not sedentary all day. And I know that they have their videos off now, but I know that Jess was walking during our meeting just a few minutes ago. Henrietta was on the Peloton for an easy ride a few minutes ago. I think Marissa was walking as well. Griffin usually is. Um, Maybe just on a different schedule today.
I did
But
it
I mean,
this morning, not today.
okay. But that's, kind of what we're talking about right now. It's right. What are we doing generally throughout the day to move our bodies? And we're condensing that to say, okay, we're focusing on steps this week. All right. So I am going to let me share my screen. Okay, can everyone see this? HF coaches, thumbs up. Awesome.
Yep.
Uh, Great. Okay. So from our weekly email that went out yesterday, how can we stay more active throughout the days, right? What's that habit, or how can we build upon that habit? And one of the easiest ways, again, is walking. It's steps. It's accessible to almost everyone. It's free, right? Even when the weather is terrible outside and you don't have a walking pad, for the most part, it might be boring, but you can walk around your house, apartment, condo, up and down stairs if you have them. And so it's finding something that is accessible to you, starting small and then building from there. All right. I think for most of us, it's about finding time is one of the hardest ways to do this. And again, for a lot of my clients, I talk about what we can add instead of take away, right? Especially when it comes to our nutrition. And it can be the same thing in terms of how we get in our activity throughout the day. How do we get in our steps? And I know a lot of us still are working from home or we have
Hello.
obligations during the day. And so trying to double task, right? So non essential meetings, right? Especially ones where you don't have to show your face on Zoom. If you can get a walking pad or pop in your AirPods and again, walk around your house, down the driveway, around the block.
Come
Um,
here.
I know that, hang on, I know that I know people that will literally walk in place, right? So they'll have like a standing desk or again, be on a call and just kind of march in place. So these are all movements that add up throughout the course of the day and can make a difference in body composition over time. It can make a difference in our mental state and mental capacity. It can make a difference in energy, right? So again, just all of these little things that can add up throughout the course of the day. Science behind 10,000 steps. All right. There really isn't anything special about like exactly 10,000 steps. All right. And it's kind of what we're saying here, right? It's not a magic threshold, but what's relative for you, right? If you are starting out and your average is maybe 2,000 steps today, your 10,000 might be just trying to get closer to 4 or 5,000 for the day, right? So it's all relative to kind of where we're starting and trying to go from less movement to more movement throughout the day. I had to check in with a client this morning whose average steps, I think, were maybe 5,500 for the week. They were under 6,000. And it's a goal of hers. She wants to get moving a little bit more, but instead of saying, okay, 10,000 steps, go, right? We set a goal together of, okay, next week, let's try and go for that 6,500 area, right? And let's slowly just try and do a little bit more than we were last week. So, with any of these habits that we're trying to build upon each week, sometimes they can be overwhelming, but if we kind of keep things relative to what we're doing now, what can we slowly start to build on? I think that's where the sweet spot lies. All right. Why else is, getting steps in important? All right. Cardiovascular health, it can help improve your mood, especially when a walk is paired with being outside. Of course, it can help in weight management overall, reduce stress levels for sure. I know that that is a great way that I manage my stress is just get outside, don't listen to any music, have some peace and quiet and walk around the block. Better
Absolutely.
sleep for sure, and even improved creativity. All right.
I think creativity is something that's so like overlooked, but I feel like when I'm outside walking, it's like all of a sudden my brain is just like coming up with ideas. I don't know if anyone else feels that way. I feel like, especially if I'm not on my phone when I'm outside walking, if I'm just walking,
Mm-hmm.
it's like all of a sudden I'm thinking about all kinds of different things, and it's just like the best creative space for me. And I don't
I
know.
think,
Yeah.
especially where you are, Michaela, and it being like so beautiful up in the mountains. The mountains for me are something that's
Yeah.
very, very touching. But
Yeah, it's like
any
moving your
sort of
body and just like not having a distraction other than just like looking around. It's like all of a sudden your brain can start to like just like explore, I feel like.
it's like some of the fuzz and the noise goes away, at least for me.
Yeah. 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 And I think too, I don't know, when I've had really high, intense, stressful periods, going out for a walk, I feel like walk or run, I think both of them kind of feel the same for me, although walking is definitely less stressful. But when I come back, I still have the same maybe problems I need to solve, but like all of a sudden I feel like I just have a little bit broader perspective and it doesn't feel so intense.
Mhm.
So I don't know. If you haven't tried regularly walking and you are feeling intense stress right now and kind of feel like you're in that fight or flight, it's seriously one of the best tools to implement to help
Try it.
in
Try it,
walks.
right? There's not too much to lose.
No, it's free. It's mostly safe. I guess that kind of depends where you live, right? But even just
Right.
walking in your house can is better than not at all.
Agree. So one of the things I was kind of touching on, right, is that again, it doesn't have to be from 0 to 100, right? Start small and then build consistency over time, which is kind of are just our overall goals for this whole challenge, right? If 10,000 is just making you go, whoa, wait a minute, let's figure out where your starting point is and where we can build from there, right? And so maybe it's just adding 1,000 steps this week, and then next week, like, can we look at our schedule? Like, could we fit in an extra minute or two here or there? Maybe we add another 500 steps. And then slowly but surely we can find some holes in our day or some opportunities really, just to build upon that. And with anything in terms of, your health and looking to build strength or working on habits, consistency is the magic key, right? You never have to be perfect on anything, but if you can try and do some of the same things day in and day out, then those benefits just really build upon themselves.
Casey, there's
Right.
a question on like someone lives in Denver and they really struggle to walk outside when it's cold and snowy out. Any suggestions? We have a few of us that live in very cold temps.
I was about to say Griffin lives in Denver. I used to live in Denver.
I live in
The crazy
Utah.
thing,
It's pretty similar.
yeah, the crazy thing
And
about Denver is that it's 20 degrees one day and it's like 65 the next.
I
Um,
know.
but yes, for those stretches of time where it's a blizzard outside, it's not happening, it's too icy. There are some great things that you can do. One that we've already touched about is, you could get a walking pad or a treadmill for your house. If that's not accessible for whatever reason, you could walk around, again, your condo, your home, wherever you live, go up and down stairs.
You want to
Um,
mute that, Casey?
let's see. Oh, there we go.
Um,
Something that's helpful, especially if you have kids at home or even if you don't, put on some music, have a little dance party, right? It might not be like technically steps, but you are for sure moving your body and getting some activity in.
I want
Um,
to add a caveat to that too, which Henrietta did in the chat, but it is, yeah, wool is what Henrietta said, but also if there's wind, I have a hard time. Like when it's icy cold out and there's wind, that's like a different kind of
That's the worst.
terrible.
it's tough.
But if it's not windy and it's just 5 degrees outside, bundle up, like make sure you have gloves on, have a really good coat. I have one that goes like down to my ankles. It's like a sleeping bag coat. I put that on, put a beanie on, and you will be surprised. Sometimes, like some of my most favorite walks have been when it's freezing outside because it's like winter has like a different kind of quiet. Maybe not if you like live in the city, but it's just like I don't know. A lot of times it looks a lot worse than it is, I will say. And when I get out, I'm like, oh, it looked disgusting outside. And here I am walking, and it actually feels really good if I'm dressed appropriately.
It's that
So,
literal first step, right?
yes,
For
it just
anything,
sounds,
it's like if we can just get out of bed, if we can just get our
yes,
shoes
yes.
on, if we
It's
can
like
just, then it all becomes a little
And
easier.
even like sometimes when like the putting on the layer sounds daunting,
yeah.
like I just did, I will be talking about outside time in a couple weeks, and said exactly that. You know, treat yourself to some nice gear, like treat
Yeah.
yourself to some nice
Make
layers.
It's a
it
You like
lifelong habit.
Yeah, like it'll last forever. Like you deserve to have nice stuff that you like to wear and feels good and keeps you warm in the elements when you're talking about self-care. So like smart base layers, second layers,
Mhm.
like they make heated vests now, they make heated gloves now. The big
Yeah.
parka, like the big huge sleeping bag parkas are fantastic.
Yeah, I have
And it's like
that.
finding stuff that like you're excited to put on really keeps you comfortable outside, and then you just do it, and you're the only one out there, and it's lovely, lovely, lovely.
Right. And even the same thing I
Also,
felt when it's like dark outside in the mornings, maybe I'm like, oh, I don't want to go out there. It feels, whatever. And then I'll get outside and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just saw the sunrise. This is the most beautiful walk of my whole life. Like, how did I miss this? And it's just so funny. I think it's just that first step can be so hard. And I think like it's for all of us. So I think too that is it Mel Robbins that has like the 5 4 3 2 1 go, where you just like count down from 5 and just like for her she talks about like getting up with your alarm, like not wanting to get up, and she just whatever the decision is that we're resisting that we know is good for us, like just 5 4 3 2 1 go. I just got to take that first step and then you've overcome the decision and now you're just doing it, and maybe
right.
it was a little cold and you'll put some better gloves on next time and you'll just get better at it.
And there's
I think
also
also
no
just
rule that you have to go walk for an hour,
Right,
right?
go
That's
for
great.
10 minutes.
I mean, go for 5 minutes here, 10 minutes
Exactly.
there.
Like particularly
Another
on
2
those
minutes.
windy days, like the like no
Yeah.
matter how much, like the windy ones suck, but like
Yeah.
keep them super short. Keep them 3 minutes. Like you still did
They
something.
are invigorating though.
And
Get
yeah,
back
and you can like kind of speed walk those days and you're the crazy person in the neighborhood, but like you did it. And the thing is, it's like the really gusty, windy, it's only a couple hours usually, or it's only one day, and the next day it's, you
Yes,
know,
it's rare.
so you do the best you
And
can, or maybe
and
walk
message the
inside a
group.
little more, and then the next day will be better.
And we'll
So
cheer you
lots of
on in the
options.
group.
I
If anyone does a windy day walk, like let us know. We will be celebrating you.
But I think
I think
also,
I think too, you guys, it's fun too when it's snowy outside, like buy some snowshoes.
Yeah, or get the
But
little, I have the
Like
things that
yak
go on my
tracks,
yeah,
shoes.
spikes.
the clips, the
Those are
straps on.
cheap. Like you can get
Yeah,
those. Snowshoes are more
Amazon.
expensive, but just get the crampons for your shoes.
Yeah, kind of dive into a little new hobby for 20 minutes twice a week. I don't know. That's
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
how I look at it.
Yeah, there's different kinds of beauty in the winter, and it just always looks terrible. But once you get out, you'll be surprised that usually the elements aren't as bad as they look.
And know that the whoever's asking the question who lives in Denver, know that you're not alone, right? Again, we
Yeah.
have most
You'll
of our
see other
team
people
in
out.
Utah, in Denver. I'm in Chicago,
Norway.
right? It's cold. It's very cold here. So yes, you're not alone in wanting to navigate that and struggling with trying to get out in the wintertime.
I think I just want to say, just from a like Norwegian perspective, having
Oh, yeah.
had like Penelope in an American kindergarten when we lived in the US, and how it's so different.
They like didn't go outside.
If no, they
the
didn't go outside. Like if and for us, me and we like that's just like what? Like you just put on clothes and you just go outside. But I can
Yeah,
totally understand if that is how you have grown up,
sure.
that you don't go outside if it's cold, then that's kind of the story you have been told your whole life.
Mhm.
So changing that as an adult can be very difficult. I don't know if
Amen.
that's the case for everyone. I'm just
No, it's
No,
saying
I
so
that that's
think
true.
that's super
definitely,
accurate.
yeah,
It's
a
so true.
different.
And it's like no wonder our mental health declines in the winter, right? Like everyone's
Oh,
just cooped
yeah.
up inside and we're all depressed. I have seen and felt a huge difference in the last like 4 years. And as I've made a huge effort to get outside in the winter, even though it's cold and I don't want to be outside, my mental health I'm so much happier this time of year than I was before. And so I think
Because
that's
it's
something too. It's like changing that narrative in our head. Every day is a good day to be outside, kind of, like starting to tell yourself that. Like there's different benefits, different times of year. And I think in the winter, it's like it's invigorating, it's quiet. If there's snow, it can be beautiful.
And so yeah, super peaceful.
Yeah, it's
and I
kind
think
of a
it's
peaceful
also
time.
one thing to mention is that it's not just what you're getting outside, it's also what you're getting away from
Uh-huh.
inside. So you're getting away from the artificial blue light, you're getting away from the screens, you're getting away from. So I think it's like, for me, I look at it as a two-sided coin. Like it's a
Mhm.
double win, basically. And I think that's worth mentioning as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Other small ways that you can think about incorporating movement, things that I'm sure you've heard all of us talk about before. When you go to the grocery store, parking, at the back of the parking lot, get a few extra 100 steps in that way.
Mhm.
Go shopping at places like Target and Costco, right? Like the big warehouses. You'd be shocked how many steps you can get in
And
that
Target
way.
has the little drink holder, so it's even better.
If you work in an office building, right, instead of taking the elevator, take the stairs, right? You surprise yourself, even if you're 8 floors up. You don't have to rush it, at least I hope not, but you'd be surprised. Like, yeah, you can walk up 8 floors of stairs or down 8 floors of stairs. So little things that can add up like that throughout the course of the day. We talked a little bit about how to progress goals, right? Depending on where you started. So part of that, especially that I talk to my clients a lot about, it's one thing to say, I'm going to go get X many steps tomorrow. It's another thing to have a plan for how you're going to get there so that you can execute, All right. So setting clear and achievable goals includes that plan, right? I'm going to walk 7,000 steps tomorrow, and here's how it's going to happen. I'm going to get 3,000 in taking my kids to school. I'm going to take the dog for a walk, which around the block, which is another 1,000, before lunch. After lunch, that might be tight because I've got a meeting. So I might just, walk up and down the hallway in my house, right? And so you can kind of plan it out throughout the course of the day. In general, I would say 10,000 steps. What did we decide, Michaela? Around 60
10
minutes
minutes.
About
of
60
brisk
minutes.
walking?
Yeah. For most people. I mean, for me,
15.
it's 60 minutes because I'm pretty sedentary. Like if I'm not, I'm on my computer a lot of times. So I kind of need 60 minutes to hit 10,000 steps. But some people are moving a lot more during their day. So if you're one of those people that's just chasing a toddler all day or super active, maybe just track. I mean, we all have phones, right? Most of us probably have iPhones, unfortunately. I like to look at the health app. I don't have a wearable anymore. So I'll look at my health app and see what my steps are.
Okay.
And it's not accurate, right? But if I'm like at 8,000, I know,
It
okay, I
puts you
set my
roughly
phone
there.
down for half the day. I'm probably easily at 10. That can kind of give you a gauge of like your normal activity. Maybe you check the health app and you don't have a walk that day and you see you're at 5. So it's like, okay, and then you can account for I think how many steps are in a mile. Now I'm like, is it 20?
For me, it's like 10 minutes is 10,000 steps-ish. If I
Uh,
look at the health app, if I've been out walking and I look at the health app, that's kind of what it comes up,
yeah, I was just trying to think. So
but I'm
thanks to
short.
Chat GPT,
For
it
me,
says,
like 2,500 steps equals a mile, but
yeah, that's what I thought it was, 2,500 steps. And maybe, maybe we're walking a mile in 20 minutes. So that's like, if you're doing, that's 3 miles in an hour, that's pretty typical. So, if you're at 5,000 steps, probably you need like a 40-minute walk in your day to hit 10,000. So that's like, or if you're at 7,500 steps without a walk, like, okay, I just need to get in a 20-minute walk once a day, and then I'm easily about 10,000. So you don't need to track every day. You can kind of get a rough idea and then just go off of that and see how you feel. Or if you're very sedentary, then you might need that 60-minute walk.
Yeah.
I also set
Let's-
my phone down when I'm working out, so I'm not like logging those back and forth steps too.
Yeah.
So, but I use that as a rough gauge because I'm not like married to the data, but I just more so want to create consistency.
For sure.
What
So we
about the
talked a little bit.
question?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Anna, I think you do include that in your 10K steps. If you're doing a run or an incline walk as part of your workout, I would say getting outside, there's a benefit, but we're going to add that kind of later into the challenge. But I think and sometimes what I'll do is I'll just manually add that since I don't wear a wearable. I'll see how far I went if I'm walking inside my gym, and I'll just you can manually add that to the health app. If I am kind of tracking, I'll add 7,000 steps based on something like if I run 4 or walk 4 miles, I'll just ask ChatGPT or I'll calculate it in my head. How many steps would that be? And I'll just manually add that into the health app if I am kind of wanting to pay attention to that. So that's something you could do. I think for 99% of the population, that's great. And I would count those steps. For maybe someone that's like in a fat loss phase and wants to have actual cardio time that they're titrating based on kind of like where they're at in their calorie deficit, then you might want to keep that separate and track your steps separate from your actual cardio. But I think that's like kind of a different scenario. So I think in general, include it.
Yeah.
Talking a little bit about just kind of accountability, with
I love
any,
this one.
not just steps, but like incorporate your family with you, with your friends. I know that, I'm lucky I live in a very easily walkable community. And when I want to catch up with friends, it's always, let's grab coffee and go for a walk. Right?
Same.
It's like we could sit down at a cafe and just sit, But yeah, it's more fun with friends and you can kind of get out. So, whether that's a partner or your children or your dog, lots of us have dogs.
Mhm.
If you're someone who lets the dog out in the yard, maybe incorporate walking them once or twice a day. Everyone benefits from that. So again, always, communicating and talking with other people, holding yourself accountable. It's always
Yeah.
a friend.
I
All
think
right.
I was gonna say too, I mean, I think we're all in similar boats. Like a lot of us work, a lot of us are moms. Our lives are so busy. And so for me, like I need social time, but I really don't have time. Like I don't have time to go to lunch. I don't have time to go to dinner. So for me, I'm lucky enough that a lot of my friends live kind of close-ish by, and I can say like, oh, hey, I've got an hour at, tomorrow afternoon, do you want to meet me for a walk? And I pretty much 70% of my walks are with like a family member or a friend,
Mhm.
because it's like that kills two birds with one stone for me. So start thinking about maybe a friend or a family member that you would like, and just see if you can make that happen once a week even, and that's something you look forward to, and you don't just get the steps, but you get that community feeling, and that fills up your cup in different ways too.
Yeah. We've touched on some of these other points, like breaking it up, right? It doesn't have to be one big
Snack
walk every
walks.
day. Setting reminders on your phone. So I have clients that do this with walks, they do this with water, right? So having something alert you to be like, oh yeah, just a nice little reminder. Embrace flexibility, right? I mean, some days, yeah, they're going to be crazy. There's a sick kid at home, or there's, emergency, you had a pipe burst, right? Which happened in our family this week. So not every day is going to be something that you can completely predict, and you'll have to be flexible and give yourself grace. But then there's always the next day, right? You can always pick it right back up. And sure, right? Celebrate yourself. If
Heck yeah.
you achieved your goals, right? Let's celebrate. Buy yourself a new workout outfit. That's my favorite to do, right? It's always easier to go to the gym when I've got a cute new outfit to wear. Buy a new pairs of shoes. Think about kind of those motivating factors and incorporate them into your goals. And then lastly, make it fun. For me, this is going to sound terrible, but for me lately, fun is silence.
Yeah.
I tend to get a little overstimulated. I have young kids, and so on my walks, for me, it's quiet. I don't listen to anything. I don't listen to music. I don't listen to additional podcasts. Me, think about what fun to you, forward. Um,
Are you frozen, Casey, or is it just me?
I was also wondering if it's just me, but I think Casey's
I
frozen.
think she froze. I was like, maybe it's my internet. Oh, we might have
Yeah.
lost her. Hopefully she comes back on. Oh, there you are. Casey, you froze. Oh, she's still
Oh,
frozen.
she's still frozen.
I was just gonna say, I go through phases of needing silence and then like wanting to listen to some new educational podcast I want to binge or whatever. So I think
I
any and
think
all of that is great.
I have like a few or a couple of like friend groups that live around that doesn't live in my town. We do voice messages to each other. So
Yeah,
that's
I
always a
catch
goal
up
for me
too.
when I'm out walking. So either I'm listening to someone else's or I'm talking. So it's like kind of having a conversation, but on my own terms, so to speak, because
Yeah,
if
like Marco
I
Polo
want to,
or
I can, and if I don't, I don't need to. Like, yeah,
yeah.
love that.
I do too. That's like a fun, I feel like that's such a like, I don't know if you guys remember, my mom was like always, she would be like on the phone with her friends, back when I was a kid, and it would be like the cord phone in between
yeah.
things or whatever. And it's funny now, I
Yep.
feel like we have way less time somehow than our parents' generations did. So I feel like the delayed communication, like on our own terms, is so millennial. And so like, I'm like a phone
it
call.
is.
I don't think I could do a phone call, even if I'm out on a walk. Like, what if, but it's like, I love Marco Polo or voice text. We can just all do it on our own time. It's like, if you're calling a friend, you're like, sorry, I just have a question.
Get my bag.
It's like apologizing.
Do you
for the phone
remember
call.
this?
Everything's okay.
Yes, I know. I was trying to explain that to my kids the other day. So funny. So many funny things they don't know about. But yes, hopefully someone in this group has never incorporated walking and is going to like take that step to get in just like a short walk in the day. And those of us that do love to walk and want to kind of recommit to it can do that as well. And I was going to just say before, Kacey, if you have anything else, those that are in the Build Ultimate You group, I will be announcing a winner today. So I'll be doing that on the app for HydroJug. So stay tuned for that. But I love this topic. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for coming, everybody, today, or for watching the recording. And go take a 2-minute walk, everyone, right now.
I have a walk date scheduled with my mom and sister right after this, actually.
Perfect. All right.
Okay,
Have a
see you
good week,
guys.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.